Let's get started on conversations on CARICOM. We're happy to be joined by Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, His Excellency David Comissiong, and he's brought along a beauty this morning, someone who knows it well. Indeed. Good morning, Ambassador.
Good morning, Pearson.
We don't see the beauty, right? Ashley Lashley. Ashley Lashley is Barbados' outgoing Youth Ambassador to CARICOM. And that's a significant moment because Ashley has done tremendous work, Ambassador.
Yes, yes. Well, you know, CARICOM started this Youth Ambassador program way back in the early 1990s, and I've been Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM since 2018. So I've seen quite a few of the Barbados CARICOM Youth Ambassadors since 2018, and but I don't think the others would hold it against me if I said that Ashley has been the most impactful. I mean, Ashley has done really tremendous work, and is leaving a very important legacy that will live on. So I thought that I had to bring her here with me this morning,
yes,
so that she could kind of give a report to the Barbadian people on the highlights of her 2-year stint as ambassador.
Now, Ashley, when you became the CARICOM Youth Ambassador, we interviewed you on Morning Barbados, and you set yourself all these goals that you wanted to achieve. When you reflect, then, have you achieved many of them?
I think, well, firstly, good morning, Pearson.
Morning.
Good morning, Barbados. It's a pleasure to be here. I would say yes, there's still so much more that I would love to do if I had continued in the role as CARICOM Youth Ambassador. But I remember during our first interview, I mentioned that I wanted to raise more awareness to young persons on what regional development means for them and their role in certain economic, social, and environmental topics. And I also remembered my first meeting with Minister Charles Griffith,
yes,
when he said, well, Ashley, I want you to step outside your box. Everyone knows that you're focused on climate change, but I really want you to do something different. And for me, that was one of the biggest challenges as a young person that the minister could have tasked me on, because my overall mission and my overall work that persons knew me for was that of climate change. So my first activity that I did actually in the role was on CARICOM Day, July 4th, back in 2023, when we went to the Shirley Chisholm School, and we actually empowered young persons in what CARICOM means. We played the CARICOM song. We focused on the 4 pillars of CARICOM. But what we also did is that we asked the students of the Shirley Chisholm School and the teachers to allow students to wear a t-shirt that represents a Caribbean country, but also to bring to school a dish that also represents a Caribbean country. And while we were there, we also asked a student of the Shirley Chisholm School and a student of the Blackman and Gollop School to come to perform as well. And we made a donation as well to the Lester Vaughan School for that representation. So for me, overall, in the role as CARICOM's Youth Ambassador, it really truly highlighted for me the importance of youth engagement on issues relating that are affecting young persons within the overall CARICOM agenda, but how young persons can have their voice heard. I think, and sorry, Ambassador, but I think a lot of the issues that are being discussed at a CARICOM level, a lot of young persons aren't aware, to be honest. And in my role as CARICOM Youth Ambassador, it was important that I'm able to share what's happening at a CARICOM level to other young persons, so that they know that they also have a role to play on these issues.
And that's so true. You know, you mentioned the CARICOM Day, that signal moment, and we do have some video from from that flag raising day that you spoke of.
I think the video you have is, well, if I could just say that for me, some of Ashley's highlights were her participation in important ceremonial events and speaking as a voice of the youth. And the first such one was when we celebrated Africa-CARICOM Day.
Right.
in last year, 2024, at government headquarters, that flag raising ceremony. And Ashley broke new ground by being, the first youth speaker at that event. And I think we have a little clip of that. And then there's the speech she gave to the opening ceremony of the. But I'll leave it in your hands.
All right. So let's look at that one which the ambassador just referenced last year for the Africa-CARICOM Day flag raising.
And today, as we celebrate the third Africa-CARICOM Day, the time has come for us to establish subgroups under this partnership. And I am proposing the establishment of a Youth African CARICOM Task Force, which will provide young people with a formal role in shaping policies, initiatives, and collaborations between our regions. Through this Africa Youth CARICOM Task Force, we must lead the way in crafting bold, fresh solutions to critical issues like climate change, trade, health, technology, and reparations, offering insights that breaks free from the shackles of outdated approaches of the past. I propose that we establish more robust programs for educational exchanges and leadership training, especially in sports, where young people from Africa and the Caribbean can collaborate, learn, and build skills that will empower them to be the leaders of tomorrow. We should create the CARICOM and Africa Games as a way of continuing and deepening the relationship between Africa and CARICOM. It is imperative that we secure a permanent youth presence in international forums like COP and the G20, amplifying our voices on the global stage and ensuring that our concerns are not just heard, but acted upon. We can really foster entrepreneurship and youth-led businesses by leveraging opportunities like the African Continental Free Trade Area, creating real economic impacts and opportunities for our young people to thrive in their own communities. This task force is not just a proposal, but it is a necessary step in unleashing the full potential of Africa and the Caribbean's youth. Together, we can create a future that is driven in 1, innovation, 2, unity, and 3, purpose.
That's Barbados outgoing CARICOM Youth Ambassador Ashley Lashley there. She addressed the Africa-CARICOM Day last year. And Ashley, looking at it, listening to yourself and listening to your ideas and proposals, how do you feel when you watch that?
I mean, I think I want to cry a little bit because I know when given the task of presenting myself and the perspective of young persons to leaders, it is always one of a challenge. And I always put myself in the shoes of what are the challenges that young persons are facing, what are the issues that our entire world is facing, and what solutions do I have to help solve those issues. So when you first asked the question, you had all of these ideas, and if everything was done, for sure that task force is one that I would love to see implemented after, because through the Hey campaign, which I started at 16 years of age, it really shows the power that young persons from Africa and the Caribbean can have when working together, you know? And I think even the creation of that African CARICOM Sports Day, I think that could be a phenomenal opportunity that shows the regional and international development of youth within the athletics realm, not only in Barbados but across CARICOM, but also empowering that trade between youth entrepreneurs from Africa and those from across the Caribbean to market their products in Africa. And here in the Caribbean, that could also be a very powerful step. But having young persons from Africa sitting down beside young persons from the Caribbean, discussing issues like climate change, meeting at the Conference of Parties, which is coming up in November, it really shows that continued brotherhood. And during that first delivery, I was telling Ambassador before we came here, I think everything was connected, because that's where I understood and I learned a little bit about the language Swahili and Portuguese. And I remember saying Ubuntu I am because we can. I use some African sayings, and I think that was one of the most powerful highlights for me. But everything and every presentation that I try to deliver, I always try to look at what future do I want to see for myself, what future do I want to see for my country, Barbados, and for young persons. And that's why it's always solution oriented to the issues that we're facing.
You just heard one presentation when she made that presentation at the CARICOM Africa Day last year, out of which some brilliant ideas were delivered. And Ambassador, it's left to us, the bigger ones, to help her realize some of those ideas.
Well, Pearson, I deliberately chose that extract from her speech because I think she delivered two ideas that really deserve to see the light of day, to be implemented. And it is my intention to try to put both of those ideas on the agenda of the upcoming CARICOM African Union Summit, which will be held in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia in September. So that idea of an Africa-Caribbean Youth Commission that brings our young people together, brilliant. And that idea of an African-Caribbean sports, whatever it is, whether it be track and field, whether it be football, but yes, a sports initiative. So I think those are two very brilliant, concrete ideas that really should be implemented. But you see, so that was Ashley's, as ambassador, the first occasion on which she was speaking officially in that capacity to a regional and international audience. Yes. And people were impressed. In fact, so impressed that when we came to the host the CARICOM Heads of Government Summit here in Barbados in February, she was invited to be a speaker at the opening ceremony. And she did brilliantly on that occasion as well. And I want to say that, I said that Ashley broke new ground. One of the ways in which she broke new ground is that Ashley was made an official member of Barbados's delegation to the last CARICOM Heads of Government Conference. Now, admittedly, there was a little mix-up with it and the mix-up came because that was so unprecedented.
Yes.
That you have a youth ambassador being included by the Cabinet of Barbados via a cabinet decision on the official governmental delegation, that apparently the people who were doing the registration and the ID badges just assumed it was a mistake. Because this had never happened before, so they assumed it was a mistake and did not print Ashley's badge, and that caused a little confusion. But the point is, she has set precedents. We now have the precedent of, for Barbados at least, of the CARICOM Youth Ambassador being placed on the country's official delegation to heads of government conferences.
And that was you, Ashley.
That was me.
When you delivered your speech, I remember watching it because I like to watch people.
Yeah.
And I saw the reactions by heads while you were speaking in total agreement. You had them.
I didn't see it.
I know you couldn't see it. You had them literally in the palm of your hand. They were just eating up everything you were saying. And so to relive that moment, take a look.
I believe true progress will not come from minor adjustments. It will come from shattering old paradigms, from rewriting the rules, not merely following them. Our people demands more affordable air and sea connectivity to bring our nations closer. Food and nutrition security, that is not just a goal, but a reality. Real investment opportunities, jobs, and economic liberation for our youth. But progress also means reparatory justice to heal historical wounds and climate justice to secure our future. We must be bold, demand what is old, and build a Caribbean that thrives. A luta continua, the struggle continues, but must it always be a struggle? And what of Haiti? How is it that after centuries of leading the charge of Black liberation, Our Haitian brothers and sisters still suffer under the weight of political turmoil, economic instability, and external interference. We must not allow any external force, be it developed countries or otherwise, to dictate the sovereign right of Haiti and other Caribbean islands to determine their own destinies.
Boy, powerful indeed, indeed. I remember watching there thinking to myself, wow, Ashley Lashley. And so, Ashley, reflect for me just a moment on that presentation.
I think that presentation has honestly been one of my best presentations to date. I remember when I got the call, I was at home, I think it was late at night, like at 8 o'clock. Ashley, Prime Minister Motley has asked me to contact you to see if you would be interested in delivering the opening address. I was like, of course, yay! So when I got up before I ran in the front house to my parents, I was like, can you imagine I just got asked to deliver the address? But I was like, wait, what am I going to say? My dad was like, well, don't look at me. Go and start doing your research. So when I started, the first thing that I did, I asked myself, what do I really want to say in this moment, especially to leaders from all across the world? And I analyzed historical times and what we as a Caribbean people have gone through when it comes to slavery, when it comes to reparations. I wanted to show the connectedness that we have to Africa now and even back then. So I was reflecting on different historical practices. And I think throughout the representation of the speech, I also looked at what was achieved, looking at the George Bridge Declaration on Crime and Health. I focused on reparations. I looked at climate change. I mentioned that although we are small island developing states, we should not allow not multilateralism, but I mentioned that because we're a small island developing states, we should not allow developed countries tell us where we stand on the international stage, seeing what is happening within the geopolitical landscape that we're currently facing. So I tried to soften my language a little bit to also show the frustrations as a young person that I've been seeing over the years and what the future of us as young persons from across CARICOM look like. And I always wanted to have that connectivity to my brothers and sisters in Africa. So that's why along this speech you would have seen and would have heard I mentioned different Swahili and Portuguese language. But I think for me what was my favorite part of that moment, and when I was reading it at home before I delivered that, was I said, and I remember Ambassador Comissiong came to me after and said, as Malcolm X once said, you don't stick a knife in a man's back 9 inches, pull it out 6 inches and call it progress. True progress is really defined by the actions in which we take today and not tomorrow, something along those lines. But that for me was a very important highlight. But to be honest, Pearsa, when I was up there delivering those remarks, looking into the audience, no one had a reaction. So I was like, am I doing a good job? Is it horrible? I was so nervous because normally when I'm delivering an address, I could tell if people liking it, if I'm talking for too long. But there and then in that moment, I did not know what was the reaction from persons until I got down off the podium. And after the event, everyone was like phenomenal. That was a great job. You saw it for yourself
just now. You just saw it for yourself. The impact you had. Leaders were nodding their heads in agreement. And not naturally, they started conversation about what Ashley Lashley said, which was what we intended. Patricia Ben says, what a beautiful, exceptional young lady representing Barbados. Congratulations to you, Ashley Lashley. So our commenters on our social media are already cluing in to what you're saying. And Ambassador, well done, Ashley Lashley, Perlita Pyle, thank you so much for your comment as well. And so, Ambassador, this is just the start. This is just the start of how young people in Barbados and the region can become involved in the political life of CARICOM.
Yes. But Ashley has, really blazed a trail. And it would be remiss of me not to mention 2 initiatives that she has put in place that are perhaps just as important as the high-level speeches. One was launched just Saturday of this weekend. This is the CARICOM badge for Girl Guides and Boy Scouts. Now this is extremely important because what Ashley has done, Ashley has conceptualized a badge. All Girl Guides, all Boy Scouts across the region will do, so that there's a program that they will undertake to earn the badge. And that program will teach them about CARICOM, but it will also cause them to be engaged in Caribbean integration activities. So if I can think of an Ashley Lashley legacy, this is a real legacy, because this Boy Scout and Girl Guides program is going to create literally thousands and thousands of advocates, young advocates for CARICOM. The other thing I would mention is a couple months ago, she launched the Growing Tomorrow's Harvest agriculture program at the Grantley Adams Memorial School. And that's where she has this program to get the schools involved, to get students involved in growing food, in agricultural production, which is complementing CARICOM's 25 by 25 food production program. So all in all, Pearson, this has been a phenomenal CARICOM Youth Ambassador, and you're quite right. So she set an example for other young people, and I want young people to know, yes, I want you to become involved in the Youth Ambassador program like Ashley. Everybody can't be the Youth Ambassador, but Ashley has a team that work with her. So even though you may not be the Youth Ambassador, there's a team you can work with as part of the whole supporting CARICOM and being a representative of the youth to CARICOM.
Ambassador, well said. Ashley Lashley, congratulations. You've done a phenomenal job indeed, and it's left to you now to continue the legacy through empowering other young people like yourself. So thank you so much for your work. And Ambassador, thank you as well for having these conversations on CARICOM with us.
Yes, my pleasure to be here with Ashley.
Indeed.
Morning, morning.